Welcome to our presentation, Being and Death: Gödel's Incompleteness Theorem as a Logical Ground for an Expanded Nature. Today, we will explore how a profound mathematical concept can offer a fresh perspective on fundamental questions of existence and what lies beyond. We begin by examining what we call the dogma of the closed system. This perspective, often rooted in scientism, assumes that reality is a singular, self-complete layer where absolute totality exists. This worldview inevitably leads to a stark conclusion upon death: there is absolute annihilation. It's a linear progression from physicalism to a self-complete universe, culminating in absolute extinction. However, this dogma encounters a significant challenge: a mathematical fracture in its self-closure. In 1931, the brilliant logician Kurt Gödel proved that any sufficiently powerful formal system cannot fully capture or explain the whole of reality from within itself. He demonstrated that within any formal system, there will always be true statements that are unprovable using only the system's own axioms. This means the system is inherently incomplete. Gödel's incompleteness theorem reveals the mutual exclusivity of consistency and completeness. It states that no consistent system can also be complete. These two qualities, consistency, meaning it's free of contradiction, and completeness, meaning every true proposition can be derived from its axioms, simply cannot coexist within a single, closed framework. To achieve one, you must sacrifice the other. Translating this mathematical insight into a Gödelian ontology, we understand that the impossibility of self-closure in formal systems proves that the actual world cannot be self-complete either. Every system, by its very nature, requires a level of reality beyond itself to be fully understood. This means the idea of totality as a closed, final state is negated. Instead, the real is an open totality, extending beyond any single formal or physical system, touching upon concepts like Bergson's Dirac or Deleuze's planes of immanence. This brings us to two distinct paradigms of reality. While Gödelian ontology does not provide direct evidence for an afterlife, it critically dismantles the logical foundation of physicalism, which asserts that an afterlife absolutely does not exist. Physicalism sees the system as closed and self-complete, the mind emergent purely from matter, death as absolute annihilation, and the afterlife as supernatural fantasy. In contrast, Gödelian ontology views the system as open, incomplete, and multi-layered. It posits the mind as grounded in the real, or apeiron, death as a dimensional transition, and the afterlife not as fantasy, but as an expanded nature. Let's explore the anatomy of the I as a temporary arrangement. This perspective suggests that the mind possesses a deeper reality that does not depend solely on the material body. We can visualize this in layers. The outermost layer is the body and physical mind, our organic hardware. Beneath that is the mind and qualia, representing the partial manifestation of our capacities. At the core lies potential capacity and intensive energy, which is seen as a non-organic life force, a fragment of the real, the apeiron. Given this, we can redefine death not as absolute annihilation, but as transformation. Because an absolute closed totality is mathematically impossible, absolute annihilation is also impossible. Death is not complete non-being. Instead, we can understand it as a three-stage process. First, the individual, with concentrated capacities differentiated as the I. Second, the transition, involving de-differentiation. And finally, the real, a return to the whole, or emerging with the boundless capacities of nature itself. This journey leads us to the concept of the epistemological wall. Scientific intelligence, powerful as it is, eventually hits an absolute limit. Beyond this empirical boundary, reason and philosophical intuition must grasp the infinite totality of nature. This is what thinkers like Spinoza and Deleuze conceptualize as God, not a personal entity, but the entire universe as unbroken potential capacity, an open, dynamic reality. This brings us to the delusion stack, which offers an architecture of being, synthesizing the final logic of life, death, and expanded nature. Firstly, being has a dual structure. This is the virtual. Secondly, the individual is understood as a temporary arrangement of intensive capacities. Thirdly, death is a process of de-differentiation, a return to that virtual state. And finally, the logical impossibility of absolute annihilation is firmly established within this framework. In conclusion, Gödel's incompleteness theorem proves that the universe cannot be contained in a single, closed box. Therefore, our existence upon physical death does not vanish into nothingness. Rather, it continues as an indifferentiated return to the infinite potential of the real, conceptualizing the afterlife not as a separate realm, but as an expanded nature.